everyone, thank you for joining us today. This is Education USA Virtual in Eurasia and Central Asia. And just to remind you that our advising services are fully virtual. We provide individual and group advising sessions, undergraduate and graduate application guidance, essay review support, and of course, many different workshops and webinars. Thank you for joining our weekly webinar today. And we are going to talk about very interesting topic, how to finance your graduate studies in the United States. Our speaker today is Cynthia, and she will tell you about all the pros and cons of studying a graduate student in the United States, what you should expect, and what kind of scholarships or financial aid you can also find for yourself. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for joining us today.
Hi, thank you for having me. Are we ready to get started?
Yep.
Okay, and there's my slide presentation. So we are going to go through a couple of things. So we're going to talk about graduate school. We're going to concentrate a lot on the financial aspect of graduate school, how to pay for graduate school. This is going to be geared toward the United States. We understand that a lot of other countries are now in competition for students around the world, but we still believe the United States has the best schools in the world, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. So one of the reasons why America is still a wonderful opportunity for graduate school and undergraduate school, we still have world-class academics. We have some of the highest ranking universities in the world. At the bottom, you can see where I put out of the top 10 universities in the world, the United States has 6 of the top 10 universities. We have a robust networking opportunities. And when you get into looking for jobs and career opportunities, your networking is one of the highest skills that you can develop, is how to make the contacts, how to meet people, the right kind of people, and how to present yourself at those opportunities. We have institutions that are equipped with specialized expertise. And in America, we choose our universities by the major that we want to study. And so most of our universities have a couple of specializations that they are just world-class at. And then other majors and programs that are good, they're excellent, but they're not the focus of that university. And we're going to talk about my home university at the end of the presentation, but keep that in mind is look at what you do, what do you want to study? And then kind of choose the programs that are world-class and in that particular program. We have cutting-edge research facilities. So a lot of our top universities are what we call research universities. And part of their work is doing research and learning, medical, engineering, biology, environmental science, all of those are up and coming fields that the research is constantly developing. And then global professional connections. So we, even on our campus, we have a lot of international professors who come from around the world, bringing their expertise to our campus. And most universities will seek out the brightest and the best in their professors and their faculty to bring the students the highest level of education we can. So the admissions and funding in America, most of the graduate funding is through graduate assistantships. And so we have GA as a graduate assistantship, a GTA is a graduate teaching assistantship, and the GAA is in a graduate administrative assistantship. And so they each have different responsibilities. The GA typically works with a department. You dedicate your 20 hours a week, you have to work for that department. GTA is the same, but you're given teaching responsibilities based on your expertise and your ability. And then the GAA is what we have in our office. This is an administrative graduate assistantship, so they don't have any teaching responsibilities. They are more an administrative role. And so we do always have 1 or 2 international students that we sponsor for a graduate assistantship. These assistantships generally come with a tuition waiver and a stipend. They are not enough. The stipend is not enough to completely fund the living costs. And so most of our students will need additional funding if they have a graduate assistantship. On-campus employment, it may fund your housing and your living costs depending on your ability to save money, but it will not fund the tuition. And so when I am advising students and I'm out on the road recruiting, I talk to them about you can get an on-campus job, and it does help, but it is not going to cover the cost of tuition. It is funding mostly your living cost, shared apartment. You may cook your own meals. It is generally not enough also to pay for on-campus housing. And most of our graduate students, because they're a little older and more mature, they do prefer to live off campus. So I always recommend when students are looking at funding, of course, a graduate assistantship is the easiest one. Unfortunately, in most campuses, there are not enough graduate assistantships to fund every graduate student. And so students have to find other sources of funding. So we're going to go through some of the scholarship, some places to find loans. And then there's also going to be the other outside the box sort of thinking of try to find a way to fund your education in the United States. So one of the most popular is the Fulbright. It is funded by the United States State Department. There's a link there, and I think this presentation will be shared. And so the only thing about the Fulbright is generally not looked at as something that's going to fund your entire program. It can be 1 year, it can be 1 semester, kind of depends on what you need and what they're able to sponsor you. The other thing, Education USA, they have a lot of sources, both in country and in general for the United States. They can help you find sources here in the United States. We also recommend that you look in your home country. So some of our students are able to get a loan from their home country at a better interest rate or with better conditions than they would find here in the United States. I also encourage students to look for international organizations that might have a base or a chapter in your home country. So the Rotary Club, the Lions Club often have international and international chapters that will allow you to go to them and say, I'm interested in going to this university. I want to study environmental science, and they are all supportive of the environment. They might be able then to give you a scholarship or a loan or arrange for some kind of financial aid. So when you're thinking outside the box, you have to really think of ideas that it's not the typical way of funding your education. And sometimes these sources are not fully funding. They're not going to be thousands of dollars. They might be $1,000 for a semester or maybe $2,000 for a year. But if you add several different sources, it helps fund the university, your education, at least take some of the burden off of your family. So this is a link, several links to some sources. The International Education and Financial Aid has all kinds of scholarships. And I usually recommend that students look for different parameters. And some of these you can find just by doing a great Google search and using different key vocabulary words. So look at your major. Is it environmental science? Is it biology? Are you pre-med? Look on your gender. Are you a woman in STEM? There are scholarships available for women in STEM. Empower, they do have an international presence. They are a little bit limited. They're usually focused on graduate students only. And they do have limitations in the majors. And so STEM is always going to be the preference recently. The international scholarships, this is mostly for Asia and Africa. The last one is Latin America and the Caribbean. And again, any source, it doesn't hurt to ask, even if the answer is no, it doesn't hurt. The worst thing they can say is no. The best thing they can say is, well, submit an application and we'll look at it. So look at all the sources that you can think of, private, public. Just look wherever you think it may not be. It may not be feasible. It may not be an idea that everybody recommends, but it doesn't hurt to ask. So some of the other things that you need to consider when choosing a university, and this goes into your funding as well, is a lot of the famous universities, Harvard, Yale, the Ivy League, Princeton, MIT, California University, the University of Illinois Champaign, those universities that have a very good reputation are often expensive. And they are often located in cities where the cost of living is quite expensive. And so our university and many smaller, what we call regional universities, still have excellent programs, excellent opportunities for internships, excellent opportunities for collaboration and for the finding contacts for your career. But the cost is a little bit lower. GA-ships and graduate assistantships may be a little bit more available. And they have a lower cost of living because of where they're located. So the cities are not the big cities like New York and and San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago. Those cities have a higher cost of living. And so that may not play into the name of the university, but it's something to consider. Those schools often have a lot more competition for scholarships and GA positions. And so if you go to a regional school that somebody may not think about going to, then you might have a better chance of getting a scholarship or a graduate assistantship. Employment on campus. Most universities allow our international F1 students to be employed on campus. This is how most of our students fund their, what's it called, incidental spending, their extra meals, their books. If they want to go to the movies, they want to go out with friends. This is how they fund that aspect of their life. The other thing to look at is your mandatory fees. So here at MTSU and at most universities, all F1 students are required to have health insurance while you're in the United States. And as most universities, we include that into your tuition fee. So it is something that it may or may not be included in the figures that you see when it says the cost of attendance. So sometimes you have to dig down into the website and find out that number, that tuition cost. What all does it include? Does it include your books? Does it include living off campus as opposed to living on campus? And if you're off campus, does it include a car? Does it include car insurance, gasoline, internet, all of those additional costs that when we call living costs and tuition costs, sometimes they're not included or they're not really thought about in the grand scheme of things. So sometimes you have to dig down and a good Google search of what does it cost to live in America. And so most of us having an apartment, we pay water, we pay electricity, we pay our own gas, we pay our own internet, in addition to our rent. And so some of these, when we say the cost of rent, are those included? Are those separate? Is that going to be an additional cost? So all of these are surprising if you didn't think about them earlier. What we have found helpful here is to do a quick budgeting webinar and talk to our students about all of those additional costs that they may not think of. The other thing to think of when you're comparison and contrast and you're comparison shopping, and this is what you are doing, you are shopping for the best educational opportunity you can find. You're also shopping for the services that you get at the university. You're shopping for the living environment. What is the climate? Do you like cold weather? If you don't like cold weather, you may want to think twice about Chicago. If you don't like humid weather, you don't want to think about the South or Florida. So think about the areas of what is the weather like year round, not just when you see the webinar or the beautiful pictures you see of the fall, the year-round climate. So sometimes people just don't like cold weather. That plays a part into some of the universities that are in the northern part of the United States. The cost of living, as we mentioned, larger cities, New York, Chicago, have a higher cost of living. The cost of attendance after the scholarship and any aid that you might get. So looking at the total cost might seem expensive, but does that university have an automatic scholarship that you qualify for based on your GPA? And if they do, that will lower the cost. And so look at the total picture, not just the cost of attendance. The size of the university, so a little bit, I lived in Japan for many, many years, and I sent my daughter back to the United States for university, and I did not want her at a very, very large campus. I wanted her at a medium-sized campus, a campus that she was going to get the services she need, as English was not her first language. And so I wanted her at a medium-sized campus. And so I sent her to a school about the same size as MTSU. She did not attend this university. She attended my alma mater, which was a medium-sized school in the Midwest. The other very, very important thing to look for is what services does the university offer you as a student? Is the health center available to you if you are ill? If you are struggling in classes, what academic services are available to you? Those things may not seem important as a graduate student, but they are very, very important. And you have to think about those items and make sure that everything you need while you're in the university, you will have an opportunity to get. The other very important thing, especially currently in the United States, is the support of your international office. You need to know that they are aware of all the changing policy, changing regulations. Are they advising you? Do you feel like they are understanding what the rules and regulations are for F1 students? It is a lot of uncertainty, and you need to feel that they are well versed, they are comfortable with advising you, and you're comfortable with the information they are giving you. You ask a question, they come back, they have an answer. You don't have to wait a week or two to get an answer from them. You can stop in their office and they're available to you. This is a very, very important part of being in the United States as an international student. The support from the university at large and the university's international office is very important. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about MTSU, and we are a very typical university. There is nothing very unusual about how we function. And so a lot of what I will say in the next few minutes will be similar to most public universities in the United States. So here we do offer all kinds of GA offers. We have the GA, the GTA, and the GAA. So both the graduate assistants who are working 20 hours, graduate teaching assistants who are also working 20 hours, but they have teaching responsibilities. And then the GAA, as we have in our office, still you are responsible to work 20 hours with the sponsoring department. And then you are, your tuition is waived. And it doesn't matter how many hours, tuition is waived. So your only actual costs are going to be your personal funding or your personal living costs. Again, this is not enough you're going to need additional funding from home. So make sure you have a plan before you get to the United States. We do have an International Merit Scholarship for students who do not have an assistantship. It is based solely on the student's GPA. The highest amount is $16,000 annually. That's $8,000 per semester. And the lowest range is $6,000. And so the highest GPA to get the highest amount, you need a 3.75 or above. And for the lowest, you need a 3.0. That's the minimum GPA. And so you have to be, if you want the 16,000, it's a very, very good student. But most of our students actually do get the 16,000 per year. And so that one is very, very popular. So a student who has a GA offer is not eligible for the scholarship. Some of the programs that we have, I'm actually going to start on the right-hand side. So if there's around maybe almost 1,000 universities in the United States, national universities, and we are ranked 257. We're not number one. We're not even in the top 10. We're not Yale. We're not Harvard. We understand that. But we are a regional university. We of the top public universities, so not private. The public universities, we are in the top 145, and there's 1,900 public universities. So we understand. We are a regional university. We serve the area of the South, Tennessee, Alabama, Kentucky. That's where most of our students come from. We currently have around 600 international students on campus. So we have a good number of international students as well. Our number one program, number two program, but we are ranked number one nationally, is the recording industry, music, business majors. We are about 30 minutes south of Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville is the home of country music in the United States. And so the music industry is really centered in Nashville. And so our students with the recording industry, music business major, singing and songwriting, they have lots of opportunities for internship and jobs after graduation. We are ranked number 8 with our animation. So we have a great media department. So we have the recording studio. We have a truck that goes and has all of the production equipment for all of the sporting events. There is a music event called Bonnaroo that happens in Tennessee, and our students will work both the active engineering part behind the scenes in addition to maybe presenting and performing because they are recording industry, singing and songwriting majors. So we are very involved in the music industry, the production, the engineering of music as well. We are ranked number 99 in the undergrad engineering programs. We do have a graduate engineering technology program. We are just starting a mechatronics master's program. And so we have approval for that one. It has not been approved by the Department of Homeland Security as of yet. And another one of our big programs is nursing. We have one of the best nursing programs in the state of Tennessee. We are ranked 340 in national nursing programs, and there are thousands of nursing programs. So we are quite proud of those programs. We are also ranked very high in our professional pilot and aerospace. And so there's about 5 top universities with professional pilot, and we are in the top 5. On the left-hand side, these are other programs that we are nationally ranked. We have all the business, accounting, business management, the music business, construction industry, and concrete management. They built their own building a few years ago. Cybersecurity is a very popular major, and so we have quite an extensive program for cybersecurity. And of course, aerospace is one of our very, very popular programs. We have drones for the unmanned aircraft. We are building our own airport. It will open, I believe, in 2028. They broke ground at the end fall of 25. And so we are constructing our own airport, and most of our aerospace majors will be on that campus. The other important thing to consider, and I didn't put this on my previous slide, is after you graduate, what is there in the area for OPT, for optional practical training, experience? If your major requires an internship, are there industries in the area that are going to be able to go without moving and do an internship while you're still enrolled? So some of these companies have offices and headquarters here in the Middle Tennessee area. So some of them, in Delta Airlines, HCA Nashville happens to have some of the best healthcare companies in the United States. There's a concentration of healthcare companies with headquarters here in the Middle Tennessee area. Nissan, for our mechatronics students, has a plant just outside of Nashville. Amazon has several distribution centers in the area. Dollar General, and that's spelled incorrectly, Dollar General has their headquarters here in Nashville. And Starbucks has recently announced that they will be moving their headquarters here to Nashville as well. So we're going to put it all together. So I always suggest, and when I'm out recruiting, I talk to students not only about coming to MTSU, but just making the decision in general about coming to the United States for a higher education opportunity. You need to find all that you can about the university and the immediate area of the university. Is that university a good fit for you? Is it someplace that you think that you can stay for at least 2 years, 3 or 4, if you are a STEM major? So it has to be a place that you're comfortable living in. If the university offers you online webinars or online events, or is active on Instagram with the activities that are happening on campus, look at those as well. Are they diverse? Do they have opportunities and activities for a wide range of students? If you're from a certain area, is there a group, a club, a student group that is for your area? So we have an Indian association, we have a Japanese club, we have a Korean club, we have African American club. We have a lot of different organizations for students that they can find their little area. They can find the people that think and are the same as them. And so having your home, having your people is important. A student has often said that they always find their people here in Middle Tennessee. Read the information of your area of study. Every university will have a page dedicated to the major. You need to know this for the visa interview. When you get to the visa interview, take the time to see if what they're saying on their page, if they have careers, look at the careers where people who graduated from that university, where do they work? Does it feel like a good thing? Does it feel like, oh, that's something that I want to do? And then if you can't find the answer on the website, always ask. Our job as an international office is to answer all of the questions that students might have that they didn't find on the website. But the website is your first source of information, and that allows you to compare, a large Ivy League school to one in New York, one in California, one in the Midwest, one in the South. Compare the different areas, compare the majors, find what you want to study, what aligns with your majors and what you want to do in your career. So all of those are really important when you're making an informed decision to come to the United States and choose of the thousands of universities you have to choose from. Okay. So, questions from you. I believe you can put them in the chat, and then we will answer them if there are any questions.
Thank you so much, Cindy, for this wonderful presentation and for covering so many valuable information for our students. I think usually the most question the students always ask is how they can maximize their chances of getting financial aid or scholarship. So what could you recommend in this way?
I always do search wide and stay organized. So looking for us, most students want the scholarship that the university is going to offer because those are the easy ones. But there are lots of scholarships that are not so easy to find. And so some of those links that I gave are going to be scholarships that they'll have to do the application. They'll have to write the essay. They will have to stay organized of when the deadlines are. That's the hard part. But that is often the part that is overlooked because most people, most students don't want to do the hard work. And so that's my biggest advice is there's lots and lots of opportunity for money and scholarships. And again, they're not big amounts. They're little amounts that you add and you put it all together and it becomes a significant help in terms of funding for universities. So search wide, search often, stay organized is usually what I advise.
Yeah, and thank you so much for sharing these links. This is also valuable for those our viewers who will watch it in the recording. So you will be able to find the website educationusa.state.org, for example. And I would like to mention that there are many other resources there that you can just check and find something suitable for you. Sometimes even some kind of special scholarships are there. So very valuable to go through that website. Yeah, so we have a question from one of the viewers, and I would like to place it on the screen so you can also see it as well. If I have 3.45 GPA from BBA and MBA 3.75, will I be considered a good student for scholarship?
I would say with a GPA and an MBA of 3.75 is a very good scholarship. And this is out of 4 point, I'm presuming. So yes, that's a very, very good GPA.
Yeah, so it's no worries about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if it were MTSU and we would see you coming in with an MBA GPA of 3.75 and you're coming for another MBA from here or even going up to a PhD, then yes, you would be qualified for the highest amount. If that's, yeah. And the official transcripts is what we look at.
Yeah, that's great. Wonderful. So also we got such an interesting question from the registered participant that sounds like this. Are there any scholarship opportunities for the people whose age 45 plus?
Okay, I like that question because that's about the time that I was a little older than that when I got my master's when I came back from Japan. There are always going to be, so it doesn't really matter how long it has been since you previously attended university. It's still going to be that GPA that you had on your last transcript that you submit. And so we're not looking at the length of time since you graduated last. We're looking at the GPA that you had the last time you were attended university. We're looking at the GPA. And so even if a situation where your undergrad was so-so, but your graduate was good, we're going to look at the graduate. If you did not do well in the graduate school, and now 10 years later, knowing that you will do better, we still only can use that GPA from the previous transcripts, the most recent transcripts that we have. And the most universities will be like that. And some universities will have scholarships specific for the older generation or what we call non-traditional students. And I would actually use that as a search for scholarships because that is a special little niche that people often forget. But
Yes.
yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much. I would like just to remind our viewers that we are streaming online, and it means that you might get the information with a delay. So it's your chance to write the question right now until we end this webinar today. And I see that we have another question from the chat. If the student is unable to cover all the costs with scholarships, can international, I mean, like students, I think, get its loan guarantee from university? And is it a good idea? What are requirements for getting it?
If you can get the loan in your home country, I would recommend that. I know some of our students from certain countries are able to get a loan, and then they don't need to pay that back until after they graduate. And this is typically how it will work in the United States. If you are trying to get a loan in the United States, there are a couple of companies that will loan, but you usually required to have a U.S. citizen at a co-signer. If you do not, then the interest rate is going to be quite high. So my first recommendation is try to get the loan from your home country if you can. If you cannot, and you have family member in the United States who is able to co-sign a loan, that would be my second. And if you have absolutely no other options, then there are companies available that will give you a loan. It's just going to be very costly in terms of interest rates here.
Yeah, thank you so much for this
Mhm.
recommendation. Also, our students often ask about campus job, and you mentioned that they are allowed to work there. So, could you please share what students can do there? Like, for example, like what are the main responsibilities for them? Is it easy to find something there? And like, where should they look for these opportunities?
Okay, so most campuses have what we call a food service company. So here at MTSU, we have RMark, and they are a nationwide company. And for many universities, contract with RMark to provide the cafeteria and the food for the students. And so RMark is one of our biggest employers of of on-campus work for our students. It is not glamorous, but it's a job. So I would say the food service, we do have like Chick-fil-A, Starbucks, and they also employ students. Housing is another big employer. The tutoring labs, so our athletics hires students to tutor the athletes. If you're very good at math, you might get a job in the tutoring in the math lab. So we do hire students for those particular jobs. And then there's always the grounds work if you're really good at fixing things, and the facility services always need student workers. We have a farm and we produce our own chocolate and white milk. And so the dairy, the horticulture, the farm also needs student workers. They just need transportation to get to the farm. So there's a wide variety of jobs on campus. I have yet, my recommendation for our international students is to come a little early to campus and get the job before all the Americans come. And then you're there first and you can get the positions, the good jobs, the indoor jobs, and then rather than trying later. So come early and get the jobs, get a job on campus before the competition comes back.
Yeah, so first come, first served.
Exactly.
Great, thank you so much. And I think we have just addition to the question about the law. Can
Mm.
university co-sign?
We would like to, but the university, the management of the university does not allow us to co-sign as a person. No, we will not. We cannot put the university in that kind of risk.
Yeah, that's logical. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. So I think we are done with all the questions, and I would like just tell thank you, Cindy, for joining us today and for covering all these important topics and like sharing these links. And also, your university has so many interesting programs. I was like so surprised, and I hope that our students will be interested in some of them. Maybe some last words before we conclude our webinar.
Um, just come to the United States. And we are fully aware that America looks like it's not inviting. And we at the university level, want the students to come. We are still very welcoming. We love our international students. And so I think taking the risk of coming to the United States, you will find that the rhetoric you hear on the news, in the media, is not what's actually happening on the ground. We still have world-class universities. We have a lovely supportive staff. And I think you'll find that it's not what it seems to be on TV. So
Yeah,
come. Yeah.
thank you so much, Cindy. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us today. And if you have any questions, you're always welcome to register for our one-on-one advising sessions with our advisors. And of course, don't forget to join our next webinars. Thank you, Cindy, once again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.